ถามใจตัวเองกับรักที่วกวนค้นหาเหตุผลใช่อารมณ์หากความรักทำให้สุขสมก็อยากไขว่คว้ามาชื่นชมแต่ความรักทำให้โอดร้อนต้องจมน้ำตากันไป
Hello, everybody out there. We are back. Welcome to the Spotlight Dialogue episode 19, the afternoon shows about circular creativity, where this episode we will take this dialogue. Negotiating with the cultural practices is an aspect of sustainability among cultural practices. Also, transformation of cultural practices could be interpreted as divergence of traditional values and collective identity, whereas individual identity has been redefined and re-emerged by contemporary practice. I'm your host, Stephen Poon. Good afternoon to all the audience tuning in. Good to be back. The Spotlight Dialogue episode 19 is brought to you by the regular team of the Special Interest School in Circular Creativity from Integrated Sustainability and Urban Creativity Center, acronym as ISUC, also known as ISUC, at Asia Pacific University of Technology and Innovation, APU, Malaysia. Our first guest for today's show in 2023, Pomprati Fuasawadi, Associate Professor, Faculty of Fine Art and Applied Arts, Chulalongkorn University, Thailand. For those who you don't know, Pomprati is Vice Dean for International Affairs. She was a Fulbright Fellow pursuing her graduate studies at the University of Washington, Seattle, and received her PhD in ethnomusicology. Upon her graduation, she joined the Faculty of Fine Art Fine and Applied Art, Chulalongkorn University. She co-authored book and audio from Bangkok and beyond, Thai children's songs, games, and custom in 2003 with World Music Press. And in 2018, she also published music of non-province and ethnography supported by Chulalongkorn University's 100th anniversary Chulalongkorn Academic Fund. Recently, her major interest has been focused on curating and bridging the nuances and meanings of performance tradition and modernity with contemporary practices. Luckily, Pompati is on hand to give us a quick lowdown on the topic today: eco-resilience and musical identity, traditional music practices in contemporary Bangkok. Please welcome Associate Professor Dr. Pompati Fowasawati, as known as Rose. I always call her Rose. Please welcome.
Good morning. Good morning. Thank you very much for your, I think it's brief introduction, but it's not brief at all. Well, thank you very much.
Well, we will go more brief along the way. Yeah, good afternoon from Malaysia. Yeah, we are 1 hour difference between
Good
Thailand
morning from
and
Bangkok. We have approaching lunch right now. So shall we
Wow,
have
good.
lunch together while we're on the podcast?
Maybe one day when I travel to Chulalongkorn again. Good to be
Yeah.
seeing you. Yeah, good to see you back. Actually, it has been a while since the pandemic. So we met many years back during the time which is before Chula, which is before pandemic in Chulalongkorn. So
Good to see you too.
yeah, and good to see you back. And thankfully, everything is all open out. I think hopefully we're gonna which is begin to work things out, work out some of the project, and also I will start to do the international travel, which is by next year. And yeah, how's over there? By the way, how's the weather over there? Lately, it's really hot, isn't it, in
Well,
Malaysia? Yeah.
I think we need a new definition of season and also season change. You know,
Okay.
warm and summer is not enough. I think here what's going on in Bangkok and also around the
Yeah.
world.
Yeah, I
Today
remember
is
you told me that the other day, right? I think the temperature up to 42 degree in Bangkok. It's
mhm.
really hot. Actually, it's burning.
Today is cooling down a little bit. It's 35
Yeah.
degrees Celsius.
Yeah, not bad for us also over here. Now we had a rain last night, so strangely, but still, you can see the the humidity
Did
is really
you
get you.
hear any frogs screaming when the rain's pouring down at all?
Not the place where I live, but although I live on the ground, but still, because it was surrounded by many concretes, so I don't really
Mhm.
see frogs running around in front of my house. If I live surrounded by more green, probably I can hear that. I
I
think,
wonder where are.
yeah.
I wonder where are they? The toads and frogs. Do they
Well, I have
survive
no
the
idea.
heat?
Look at all these development, urbanization, and also there's a reason that everyone talking about, which is ecological issue. How can we be more resilient about our environmental conscious? These are the things I think is really put forward to many people who living in the city today. And of course, today is many things to talk about if we talk about sustainability. I think from your expertise, it's very nice to see you and come on board for our first live podcast in 2023. Really appreciate that. And of course, today we're going to talk about something which is not many people really talk about, their musical identity in the traditional form. I think also I come across and I saw some of the work you have done. And also I've been visited to Thailand multiple times. Also understand how Thai people embrace traditional music, traditional culture, really in a different which is horizon. Is getting me to understand even more how appreciation should be in place, especially come to this kind of cultural identity. Okay, right. I think before we get into that, right? Rose, I think is really nice, and I'm so thrilled that you are here with us. I'm going to set the scene before we begin our conversation. Right. While the potential of the creativity and of the arts for societal transformation towards sustainability has gained attention over recent years, a specific focus on music is lacking in sustainable designs.
Mm.
Collective musical practice enhances group cohesion, and musical improvisation trains social creativity, both of which are important resources for organizational resilience. Turning to the experience of music on the individual level, cultures of sustainability can be fostered through a musical aesthetics or complexity that opens up to the ambiguities,
Mhm.
ambivalence, contradiction, and creatively chaotic dimension of a transformation towards sustainability. However, music is a double-edged sword. And yes, here we go. And is the emotional power can be deployed instead to strengthen prejudice, simplify worldviews, and restrain creativity. The intersection of music and sustainability exposes the mechanism operating at this intersection and highlights key areas where the social experience and practice of music can contribute to the cultural dimension of sustainability in communities, organizations, and society. So here we go.
Thank you.
Rose,
Thank you. Thank
what
you.
are the
Mm.
what are the potential of the music for sustainability transformation, and why should we care? Rose.
Oh, thank you, Stephen. Thank you for your invitation, for having me, and especially to launch the first episode of the year. Um, well, when we first talking together, and especially the word sustainability, I have to be honest. Um, am I the one to talk about sustainability? Um, I looked through my articles. Have I written anything on sustainability explicitly? And I have walked around on my campus, coming back from my parking garage, going to the classroom, entering the meeting, and then going back through, sifting through my memories of 25 years working in this field of music, as an ethnomusicologist, as a lecturer, um, working at this organization, Chulalongkorn University. And in recent years, the word sustainability is one of the policy that coming through. I think the word sustainability could turn off some people because it's coming through. It's kind of top down, but actually, I think everyone is engaged in sustainability in one way or another. Especially when you ask, can music empower the sustainability? Because why? I think yes, of course, because music has an ability, as we know, and also the power to draw people, and also get into the deep level of participation, um, either verbal or non-verbal. The image or the word imagery, and then the symbols, emotions, and then we get into social awareness. It could be in a simple form, in lyrics, when you do feel that the heat wave is coming, La Nino, you immediately you can
Yes,
get that,
it is
right?
actually. Yeah. Yeah. When
Yeah.
you talk about this context, right? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
When you mentioned about nobody really care about music and sustainability, what is the actual interrelation there? I think, of course, I think the leeway of this is about what is the awareness and to be protected, how resilient we can be. Okay. I think the next thing I like to know that what is the resilient and what does it mean, especially to the cultural practitioner, especially you, when you mention about how does it all this bring into the practice according to your uh, professional uh, professionalism.
I think for resilience is something that you, when you face something really harsh, and then you might like fell down, and then you are able to find a way to rise back. You're able to pull yourself back, contain yourself back, and then get up. you're able to move forward, which means sustainability is about you yourself and also being able to adapt, being able to be flexible. And also, I think the key word is changed. Sustainability. You cannot sustain if you're being stiff, if you're rigid. So then you will not be able to life. I think I will go back to life. It's not going to be a smooth path. It's going to not be all the petal roses on the pathway. There are so many things you encounter obstacles and problems.
I think you're
And
talking about structure. I think
Mhm.
you're talking about structure, behavior. Am I right?
I I'm not sure if I've driven to that structure, but I can also be engaged in the structure. And I think the structure is important. Structure is
Okay.
important.
Uh, Rose, do the arts reflect the structure, behavior, and values of an overarching society? Especially from the structuralist perspective? Or do the arts shape the structures, behavior, and values of society? This is from the agency perspective. Which one?
Well, I don't think there is like a clear answer, but it does affect both sides, the agency, and also it goes back and forth. Um, I do feel that ecology does affect the art form. I'm very interested in the building of the musical instruments. Um, it's more in cultural context. You grew up, and there are cultural parameters. I'm very interested why in the musical instruments and the organology, because you are looking at the species of the type of the wood, and it's fine and indigenous in your country, in our region, and that's why we have this type of wood. It creates the type of metals, and then it creates the type of the ensemble, and then the type of the timbre, the tone color that we have. And that's why it's cultural differences, cultural identity, the differences coming into play into part of it. And it
So it can be either way. Am I right?
it also
Okay.
you see
Is
the world.
music a product of dominant, unsustainable societal structures and processes, or is it a potentially powerful tool that can be used to shift us and over environments towards more sustainable societies and cultures? I think the question is I would like to know whether music has such an empowering function according to your practice so far.
It is really music is really a empowering function, but then it becomes getting into also politics of human being. This
Mhm.
power, because we are in a structure, so we have to be aware of these power relations and the structure, and that's why you have dominant culture. So I think it's common, it is natural that there is a dominant culture, but we should be aware that it is a dominant culture, and there is those cultural practices that is being in the that is being marginalized, that is being in the periphery. So um, I like your the title of your program is Spotlight. So it can be spot and light, shed lights on everywhere, every corner. Mhm.
Yeah, of course. This is the whole point why we're having this kind of discussion, because of when we talk about spotlight, right? We need to focus on the certain topic we're going to discuss about, which is on the air and over, which is on the show. I think that'll be nice. It's also not just only the dialogue between you and me. It's also let the audience out there who has tuning in to find out what actually is all about. How can we bring forward of the things of what we discuss? I think it's not only for any layman, especially for those who into music, you know, playing music is a many form. It can be in the very modernistic way. It can be a very traditionalistic way. It really depends. Of course, we all started from classical music. I can just like me. I started from a classical music background. Then along the way, I evolve myself. I go into this contemporary music, and then I play music. And then, but after that, and then when I finished with my university, then my mom told me that, hey, Stephen, go and get a job. Don't stop playing music. Then that's how I ended up. Okay, I need to tune out a little bit more. Then I started to get my job and cut my hair and do it properly, just like everybody else in the social development. Unfortunately, so it's just how we pay the bill. But of course, the music is a different form. If you pursue, which is a differently, right, can be really vibrant. But the thing is, when I was younger, I don't have that kind of mindset. So that's the reason I like more enlightenment, like people from you. How resilient can it be? And how can you pursue that? And also how this music can be transformed into the different way. Perhaps you can show us some of the work you have done, like from yourself or from your student, how this contemporary music to be implemented and through the traditional form.
Thank you, Stephen. So the word traditions, sometimes we get bogged down that it has to be just to be on a conservative camp, so it must be preserved. I understand that, so that we could pass down to our next generation. But at the same time, we do live just one lifetime, and we don't know that we're going to come back in order to be able to do the change.
Yeah,
And
we only
also-
live for once, isn't it?
Right. So that's why the word contemporary coming into play with traditions. So contemporary and then traditional and then modernity. And this also come to play, especially for those students who are in the traditional music department. How much freedom do they have? And also to be able to get into resilience and also to sustain the traditions, especially. I think they are like standing in between, like two hands juggling traditions, passing down like purely purify tradition. And then how about us, to define ourselves, being in our time, and also being yourself as a traditionalist and also as a musician, as a creative traditionalist. These two terms coming together. And some of my students, they have been working and redefined the space and where they can, how much they can experimenting and also thinking about sustainability and also resilience as well.
Okay, Rose. According to your practices so far, would you like to tell us about how is music relevant to a cultural transformation process aiming to enhance the resilience of human communities?
To enhance the community,
enhance the resilience of human communities like us, can be in any places, in any regions.
To me, the past that I work is especially my supervisor who coached my career in the past 25 years. We have been working in the northern part of Thailand, and the book that you were just mentioned is the music of non-province. I think when you go out to the field and work with the community through music, to musical instruments, musical activities, it's both way. We learn from them how we stay in the community, interactions, exchange the ideas, learn how they think about their music, how they observed the nature, how they live themselves in the nature. because I think from the educators, universities, they all usually are located in the cities, and the chances to, as a human, the connections between human and nature community is very important. So if you lock yourself inside a classroom, lock yourself within the university fence and wall, you need a key. You need a key to unlock yourself and connect with the human. And so one of the projects is that we work together with the Department of the Biology. So those biologist professors, they do research bird species within the location in the northern part of Thailand. So our students and also my supervisor who coached me, he's a composer. I'm not a composer talking about that, but I'm writing due to ethnology. So I follow him, and one day he told me that he would like to spend 3 nights in a park. So he observed throughout the night how many sounds of bird calls. So he take notes throughout the hours, every hours, until it become pitch dark and then silenced. And then in the morning, what time do those birds wake up and what kind of bird calls that you would hear in sequences? Which birds get up first, next, and come the after. So you have like early birds, but then the species of those birds get into details. And then he came back to Bangkok from spending his 3 nights in the national park in the northern part of Thailand. Coming back and then sit down and then discuss with the biology lecturers. And then he came up with pre-composed, like a scratched and roast. I would like to work on a new composition. And the part that I would like to get into is that I was very impressed by his imagination, creativities, and also working on the traditional elements. So it's become an ensemble of the central part of the Thailand and mixed with an instrument from the northern part of Thailand. And the opening of this composition, so he asked and teach one of the students and creating a new techniques on this fiddles, not this fiddle, on a Thai fiddles, in order to imitate one of the uh, uh, um, birds. Mm, let me look up the species, the tiny the English name, pheasant, the
Okay,
one that
okay.
the one that pan out and then dance. So these techniques on the fiddles, and these fiddles introduce the whole piece. And when I listen to him, so this is the new techniques. So just to scrape down and then get the sounds to imitate the bird calls of the big pheasants, and then the whole ensemble slowly coming in. And he explained that this is the sound that I would like to introduce, that this is the morning calls from the birds, and then the sun slowly, slowly rise from the horizon. How can he did that with the
That's very
traditional?
nice. I can imagine. I'm thinking about the pictures now. You just give that narrative. It's really essential, actually. Okay, Rose, would you like to, if you have anything you want to show us about one of your students uh,
Yeah.
perform some of the like contemporary work, would you like to show us? Do you have anything?
So yeah, those one of the student has been working on like code switching. I would use the term code switching from, because Thai traditional music we use the traditional scale, the Thai scale. And then he has friends that he would like to combine a piano and then a guitar, and then also he would like to also play tunes from popular tunes and also from in by the Western scale. So he's he he's also we have this student and he's not Thai, and then he's lived in Thailand for a long time. His name is James. He is from the Philippines. His whole family's moved to Bangkok. No, moved to Thailand, work in Thailand, the whole family, and then he studied traditional music. James, his major instrument is called jacquet. Jacquet is a cedar with 3 strings. So he worked on this instrument, and he thinks that in order to, I don't want to use the word sustain, but to bring life, the life of jacquet, to meet with new friends, to have more friends, to get together with friends from other cultures that maybe speak with different languages. So he needs to his musical instrument to be able to speak in a different language. And this is so I would like to show you how this instrument sound with the traditional scale. If I would like to play clip number 1. Yes, please.
Rose, I think you can control this.
Okay.
Yeah. You just click play. I think it should be okay.
I click played already, and then this.
Okay, I'm
Is
not
it
sure whether.
lagging?
Yeah, it sounds like the connection is not really do well. Okay, I think probably this is okay. Now we can see that this is the instrument. Of course, this what you just mentioned about the instrument. But of course, would be great. We can always see that how contemporary way how this person, which is the non-Thai, play with this traditional form of the instrument. So yeah. Okay. It seems to be it's not really moving. Okay, never mind
Let's
then.
try. Yeah, but let's try. Okay, let me move on. Clip 2, so that we could. So maybe if we could hear with the same. Yeah. Now,
What?
actually, the video is playing right now.
Yeah, it doesn't sound really some kind of like connection issue. Okay. Well, I can hear the bit of the this tone is a bit beyond than the traditional form. It's just I like to see the entire how the performance to be done. But anyhow, okay, our connection is not really doing well. Okay, never mind. We just move on then. Do you have any others to?
Okay.
Okay, never mind. We just move on this. I think I have a rough idea about how this instrument to be played, and also, of course, is performed by the non-Thai with the contemporary technique. Yeah.
Yep. So I want to bring you to take a look. So if you remember the first clip,
Mm-hmm.
so this change is not just about what happens to this when I was talking about resilience and also sustainability. Change is very important part of being able to be sustained. So what has been introduced to the new version of this instrument is the scale, the frets has been tuned to chromatic scales. So it is debatable. Shall we? Is it okay to tune this instrument to chromatic scale, and it is still a Thai instrument or not? So this debate has been going on, and so it has been settled. But not only the scale has been introduced to this instrument, but also the new techniques, the fingering style. So James has created and also think through um, how to use his hand and also the fingering styles. And then in order to play this instrument traditionally, you need a plectrum, which the best material for a plectrum is actually from an ivory. And now, so
Good
it
to know
is
that.
not, yeah, it could be a bull horn, a buffalo horn, but the weight of the plectrum, it is not as good as an ivory. I myself, I major in this instrument too.
Oh,
So yeah, so I have to try on each plectrum, each ivory. So for me, if I do a solo, I would never do a solo without an ivory plectrum. A resin or a plastic, not doing good. It's not giving me it's not doesn't giving me a good experience as much as ivory. But now we're talking about ivory, and then you have CITES law coming out. It is very difficult now to buy an ivory and then to order a plectrum.
well, you can't really buy the ivory now. It's not really legal to do this. Well, to be honest, so we can't do this actually. We have to protect the animal. Okay. All right.
Yeah,
Okay. I think probably there is certain kind of which is
it
replacement
is a
to
replacement.
for the actual ivory. I believe so because there's a lot of all this kind of material coming up, especially to replace some of the natural material. Of course, we always keeping the real things. It's always there's a better performance instead of like replacement for which are from the synthetic material.
That's the whole issue, is to go into
Mm.
traditional musicians
Mm.
around the world. Yeah,
Yeah, it's
before,
true. It's true. It's true. Exactly.
yeah,
That's where the resiliencies comes actually for many practitioner. Yeah.
yeah, and the species of the wood in Thailand, the one that we use for the musical instruments too, it become illegal for the
Yeah.
makers to own those woods. Mhm.
Yeah, it's true. I remember I seen some of the Chinese instrument from the Chinese orchestra. Some of the instrument, the one with the two string they call erhu. There is a snake skin underneath of this little drum. So
Python is python.
yeah, yeah, it's amazing, when I see the wow skin, snake skin, a python. Yeah, it's true. So I'm not sure about the latest stage, especially in the 21st century nowadays, how they remake all these instruments. Whether they are using they're gonna kill the python again to just rip off their skin, or is it
No,
some
no,
kind
no,
of
no, no,
replacement? Actually, yeah, I'm not sure.
no,
Actually,
no,
what
no.
is a
Natural material is still still yielding us the best
Mhm.
quality. So we're not killing the python. We're collecting their hide. We're collecting.
So it's not good actually kill the animal. Oh, I want your skin. All right. Uh, okay, Rose. Let's move into the a little bit more in depth about this resiliency here. Okay, resilient has become an increasingly ubiquitous term during recent decades, drawing on the conceptions of the resilient and critical arguments from fields of study as diverse as social ecology, sociology, psychology,
Mhm.
anthropology, and sport, or even political economy. Specifically, what is the relevance of resilience to musicians, and what constitutes resilient in the context of music performance?
I would come up with the term cultural diversity, being diverse, being different, being able to accepting differences in all kind of practices is the resilience. Sometimes you cannot be resilient and you cannot rise up back because you are so being fixated to your own idea, and that's why you are hurting yourself.
Mhm.
And there are so many kind of genres and many types of music. um, Music is actually has the power deep to our biological being because it's the brain that receive and transform
Rose,
those waves into signals and symbols and meaning and become emotions. Yeah.
mm, okay, Rose. I think we as a artistic people, the creative people, whether you are contemporarily or traditionally in any form, right? As long as we dealing with creativity, art, design, traditional, contemporary, or whichever way, so we are dealing with a lot of constant of resiliency of that. So when you come into this aspect, especially, how is the subject of resilience debated in other discipline? What I mean, the non-artistic, from your observation.
um, it could be in psychology, if not music, right? In order to understand us, in order to understand human being, how do we live together in the society, how do we think and then how do we feel among each other. That's how I see. Mhm.
Okay, how might the balance of genetic inheritance and environmental factors affect the development and sustainability of resilient in musician? Since you are so-called the musician yourself, so what is the balance of the genetic inheritance and the environmental factors?
Well, I, I think genetically um, there is. Well, I think human being is musical. All human being is musical. Um, Music is part of our life, and it's communicating and connect us all. Music. Um, Genetically, if you are born to be a musician, you are you have certain genetically being given from your parents. Um, do you mean that way when you say it genetically?
Yeah, the genetic inheritance especially, and also the balance between this genetic inheritance and the environmental factors. So yeah, of course, when we looking into this point about can resilient as commonly conceived by counterproductive.
Um, do you mean like we need more? Um, do we need more activities like musicians? Do you mean that way?
Yeah, especially from the resilience point of view.
Um, we do have in school we work like in our program we also have musicians who work with children and then young adults who would like to work with their maybe cognitive or behavioral patterns. So in terms of that, I think we need more um, a person who will be able to use music as a tool to work with those um, children and also adults and young adults who would like to work with their personal issues in order for them to be able to come back to the society and to be able to be engaged and then contribute to the society. Music is a very important tool to be able to get them back resilient.
Okay. We talk about resilience quite a bit. So to what extent could we or should we control foster resilience in musical identity?
For me, I'm a free spirit person, so I don't control. I would support and then I would let it grow naturally. Um, Musical identity is can be changed because people change. The agency who coming into the tradition are not the same. By time goes, with this time of age, people moving around. So musical identity can be changed according to time and the agency who coming into the scene of the music. So it is very interesting to see the musical identity that has been evolved, developed, and being influenced by the community, by those people who coming into play.
Okay, thanks. Thank you, Rose. Okay, let's open up for Q&A. I think it's a time to take a look at the question posted by the audience. We have one question displaying underneath on the screen now. So let's take a look at that, Rose. So this is from my wonderful colleague Daniel. So which Daniel is supposed to be which is with us today because he's busy with others commitment. But thanks to Daniel as always being very supportive. Okay, Daniel asking like music has a great potential in terms of creating sustainability awareness. So, what are other qualities that music has that can be useful for making social system more sustainable? So you can see the question is displaying in front of the screen now. So this is from my colleague, which is Daniel. What's your thought? What are your thoughts?
I totally agree that music has a potential to create sustainability awareness. As I see that music can be engaged, can be it invites people to participate at all ages. I don't want to use the sentence that music is a universal language, but it has the power to reach the people, and in many ways in school, in the now we have in Thailand also there is a festival, and I used to work with my friends in Taiwan. There is a course for it is in Department of Communication and communication through music festival in order to create sustainability awareness and also ecological awareness. We have seen a lot of, not a lot, but recently music festival that become very they are aware of the CO2 that they're being created and how are they going to come to the festival. They could come by biking or using like commuting, and also those in the festival, how are you going to bring your own bottles? And once I was organized a music conference, and we have like 1,000 of people coming to the conference. The university has asking me, how am I going to manage the trash after the conference? So that questions that I never thought before. I was thinking about the panels list and about all
you're not thinking about the content of performance, thinking about what is aftermath.
Exactly. But that is the responsibility because we bring in a lot of people, right? Yeah. But the content of the music and the way we can communicate through musically, we can work through sustainability awareness. I totally agree. Music is important part of the society.
Okay, we have another question here. From Qian Yi. As we can tell, not so many people favor traditional music. What do you see traditional music in future? Wow, this is very much just like my mom. Come on, Stephen, get alive. My mom always told me that. Okay, I want your view, please. I want to. I want. I want you to help me to enlighten my mom because my mom is tuning in actually.
So this is very good question. Thank you, Kun Yi. Why many people basically don't like traditional music? Because traditional music tends to um, I think traditional music, some people would feel that it doesn't connect it with everyday life. Everyday life, it also concerned with the issues that we're talking right now, sustainability, the issues that dealing with right now, human concerns. So I think traditional music, and also for me myself, when I'm talking traditional music, I also introduce students and that let them becoming engaged. And that's why I juxtapose the term in two hands, traditions and also being contemporary. Being contemporary is not just about adjusting the traditional music itself, but connecting traditional music with contemporary issues, human rights, racist issues, ecology, sustainability, resilience, applied traditional music. How can we apply traditional music to the society, to speak to the audience, wider audience, invite them, and at the same time, invite them to understand the nature of traditional music. So for example, we can talk about the instrument, how are they making, what type of wood, how do they build, why do you select this material, where are they coming from? And if traditional musicians do not pay attention to these issues, there will be no materials for them, raw material for them, such as the bird calls for the composer, the natures. There would be no story for us, no inspiration for a composer to work on. That will be the end. That will be the
Rose.
end of traditional music.
Thank you. Can I just make some remarks about this pertaining to what you just said? As a non-musician myself, as a non-practitioner, no longer practice anymore, but as a so-called layman, from my point of view, to look at traditional music, which is what this question, what do you see traditional music in the future? But to be honest, right, as long as there is the place for cultural, which is growing, especially music is a representation of the cultural identity, especially in the traditional form. I think the questions here is right, and how can we sustain that? Um, is the way, of course, you cannot play the same way 100 years ago, this instrument to be played in such a way that 100 years later and you play the same way. And the the new production of the instrument is no longer is the same like 100 years ago, I believe. And I
Mhm.
believe one culture can be sustained until today, right? It's not just only 100 years. I think traditional music form, it can be, which is here to stay for more than how many decades, how many century, can be 1,000 years. What I try to imply here is my understanding as a layman is the cultural representation. And
Mhm.
how can we make it alive is to exemplary the old ideas, do it the new way, especially in the contemporary practice. Like the one you just show from your student called James from the Philippines. So he's a
Mhm.
Filipino. You just said that. And then he's playing the Thai music. So you can see that it's a traditional instrument, I believe so, but there is a different way to play it. So I see a lot of this cross-disciplinary of the music performance today. Okay, let's talk about rock music. So what I talk about rock music because I was involved that kind of underground music when I was in the university. So So I know, and I see some of the which is real concert, real life. Those are the rock band. They playing the contemporary Western music, but um, which is emerged with the traditional instrument. So it makes it sound really amazing. So it makes it sound like wow, and this doesn't how it should be. Like for instance, I'm not sure whether you know there's a black metal band from Taiwan. It's called Citronic. So they play all this black metal Western instrument, guitar, everything, bass, drum, everything is all there. But there's a one Chinese instrument in there. It's called erhu.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's making it sound really amazing. There's a really heavy, all these underground, all these blackened sounds, but there's a crossover with this traditional music. So it make it more spookier, more horror because of the
Mm-hmm.
traditional sound. So and also there's an experimental band. It's called what is it called? Intouchable. So which is from Germany. It's an experimental underground punk band actually. So they play guitar, drum, bass, but they have a lot of classical instrument like the violin, then also the cello. Then they cross over. And also another band called Apocalyptica from Finland. All four cellos, they play sounds like the heavy metal music. So you can see people crossing over, how people contemporize the instrument, which is
Yeah.
sampling the old ideas, but
Yeah.
do it the new way. So that is make the traditional form of instrument, musical note, be more resilient, continuous. So and which is much more appreciative. This is how I see it from the layman. I'm talking about when I was younger during my university time. So when I went to all this concert, I see all these people crossing over with the different instrument. Now I'm a bit more appreciative for all the traditional instrument because they can do beyond that what we cultivated when we were young, which is this is traditional music. So this is traditional instrument. So these are the things I like to share with you based on this question. So people they don't like it because they don't understand it because they don't see things can be cross the boundary because
Mm.
everything's what we do there's a boundary. So if we conform with the boundary, right, we always stagnant. We always stay in the boundary. So I think
Right.
it's not just the music; it can be anything for life. What we do. So we cross the boundary. Then you see the sunlight. You see there's a possibility. Especially another phenomenon. This is a bit side story, nothing to do with music. Just like after post-pandemic, more artificial intelligence comes in, more automation comes in. So that is a new change. So exactly the same way. It's
Mm-hmm.
about how we perceive that. But anyway, human, we are so creative, so we can do anything we can to make it
It's
possible,
like
to make it sustain. Yeah,
it's like an offspring.
yeah, yeah, exactly. The which is the band, yeah,
Yeah.
offspring. So
Mm-hmm.
exactly the same. Yeah,
And it
because
takes time to grow and become
yeah, it
mature.
is. Yeah,
Mhm.
they're more mature, they're more experimental. Then they know that what things can be, which cross the boundary to make it more impactful. There's a new change of the so-called music, which is a phenomenon. Probably I take one more example. This has nothing to do with the traditional music. This is called another, which is a rock band from Seattle in the 80s, like the grunge band called which is Nirvana. I believe you know that
Yeah.
because this is our
Yeah.
time.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I
Yes. Yeah.
I grew up with Nirvana. I'm a big fan of Nirvana. So
Mm-hmm.
Nirvana comes in, right? He wipe out the way how the punk music should be done. So
Mm.
he changed the phenomenon. He changed the music note. So that's where the so-called the grunge scenes to be blow out in theater. So they call the musical new musical note from the theater. Then all these crunch band come out, like you have Pearl James, or you have Mark Honey, you have Iron Monkeys, all this comes, because of Kurt Cobain, which is he was a lead singer of Nirvana, for instance. So
Mm-hmm.
I think this is the example, how you change, you break it away of what it should be done which is where we come from. I think another way I was learned when I was young. My mentor told me that, Stephen, you master the rule. When you understand how it works, then you break
Yes.
the rules. So this is for creativity. So in
Mm-hmm.
creativity, right, there's a lot of this kind of crossing the boundary. So when you cross the boundary, actually you breaking the rule. But before we break the rules, of course, we need to understand what is the fundamental of these rules and regulation of learning the music. So
Mm-hmm.
once we master all this, right, you can do anything you want. Then
I agree.
you change the phenomenon. So then if people agree, right, then you are, which is changing the new way of this experience. If not, right, then you fail. That's it. That's a tool, very extreme. Either you succeed or you fail. But of
Mm-hmm.
course, there's many people try out many things, but many people fail. I believe so. But it will take one or two very successful because its impact is really, well, of course, luck is always there. The time, the place, in the right time, then you need this kind of so-called new experience, then you blow up. So that is it really depends actually. Okay, thanks for the question. The two questions is really getting me back when I was young. Actually, I can share more actually about what I have gone through when I was young and also my experience during my university time. Okay, right, Rose. Now we are going to change the gears a little bit. We have been talking about and all the concerns that we have been discussing on the show. I would like you to be able to share your ideas and see what other listeners are thinking about that in a little bit. So, in terms of traditional music in community life, so this is we're gonna look into that the aspect of performance, recordings, and preservation.
Mm-hmm.
How does a community maintain their cultural identity?
Mm. So I think this time of age, when these questions I have to take into account the technology. We are living in the era that everyone can have an access to Facebook. Everyone could have their own studio to record their own music, and everyone can also be a reporter of their own cultural practice from everywhere around the corner of the world. Um, I've seen the young generations; they are really into the recordings, um, their own computer. They have their own program to do the recordings in the classroom, outside the classroom. They posted it in all the projects, student projects, and the communities. Um, I think this is is a viable atmosphere that's going on in the younger generations. Um, so for the older generations, the lecturers, the masters, um, sometimes they have to tell them, do not record it. So you need to use your memory, go back to the traditional way of learning,
Mhm.
imbibe the music into your body, embody, take it. So I think part of it, the embodiment to taking in the music into your body, processed it, seeing the structure of the music, internalized it. I see it less because so there are double-edged sword as well. I think technology is very good. It's also helped us to sustain the tradition. But at the same time, if the younger generation rely too much on the technology, the nature of learning, coaching, training is has some not good impact on them.
Yeah. Rose, what motivates is cultural practitioner to work together, especially to struggle for the common goal, especially in terms of the practices, in terms to sustain this contemporary form of music, but from the traditional instrument, for instance.
Um, I maybe I cannot speak for like the whole community, but from
But in
most of the
your, I
artists.
mean, in your observation, for instance, throughout your experience for many, many years, especially in Bangkok, which is in Bangkok region, I think I would like to see, because I see the Thai people embrace traditional which is this traditional cultural form, especially in the musical identity, is very strong. So I think the
Mhm.
cultivation is very different from Malaysia. So I like to which is know a bit more, how does it how this younger generation, which is a bit more embracing of all this identity.
They are from the younger generation, people that I work with, they are very, very eager to um, to do the research back. Why? Um, I think in all part of Thailand, in the northern part of Thailand, in the eastern part and the southern part, when they come to when it comes to the text, because we are oral traditions, so there's not much there's not many evidences available for the younger generations to do research, to go back in times, um, and I think that's why they become really, really insecure when insecure when when they are going to move forward for something that very experimental. There are some people who do some experimental, and that's why there's nothing much left. In the past, there were not many textbooks available. Myself, especially, um, we would just start to do the writing about 100 years ago. Um, so now, when they do the research and a lot of questioning about who's the composer of these songs, and most of it is composer were unknown, the date were unknown, so it's almost shut down, and the culture itself to 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 speak out and also to question, to ask and raise our hand ups and then ask the questions. So it's like a double. It's double. There is no way to ask, and also there's no answer to the questions. So we are trying very hard. Keep asking the questions. Keep asking the questions. Keep looking into the evidence from maybe from the mural painting, and then do the interpretation, and then keep asking. There is some, because as I said, the knowledge is embodied in the bodies, and it is being passed down from teachers to one teachers is a lifetime. So there are still those teachers who are able to answer the questions, and the younger generations, they would like to seek out to those teachers who are able to explain in details and share all the knowledge and details. They are hungry for the
Hungry is good, isn't it? Hungry is good, actually. Right. Rose,
soon.
yeah, this is something coming in my mind just now. Chen Yu was asking the question, what do you see traditional music in future? There was some kind of like things that's in my mind. I'd like to ask you, how, especially from the musician point of view, how do is musicians resist forced changes in order to create a future of their own
Mhm.
musical identity?
These invisible forces, would you, would, yeah, these forces is invisible.
Yeah. Okay. What would that be? So, what is your point of view? Or probably you need. You can see that this is some kind of a forecast. What what will be the coming future according to your practices so far? I think. Thank you, Chen Yi, which is this is coming to my mind, the kind of question, because Chen Yi is looking at the point of view from so-called the layman, the layperson, but I look at this to pursue the questions which is from the practitioner point of view, although I'm not a practitioner myself.
um, I think for folk traditions, they are not facing the resistance that much. But so then what it becomes a classical, and then it becomes a canon, and it become canonized, then it becomes like a national heritage. It becomes the cultural identity of a large group, so a dominant group. Then you have to find a way to negotiate it. Then you have to find a way to maneuvering around. Um, when you're working with culture, you do it with respect, you do it with manner. It takes time within the cultural parameters, within the society that you're living in. You have to learn the way to propose, the way to present your new work, and then you will be okay. So I think in each
Yeah,
culture, in each country, there is a way to do things. Yeah,
yeah, I know that, especially this kind of which is a progressive way of how to be practiced, right? It definitely cannot be done drastically. So you cannot
exactly.
say it's just like music taking a lot of time to learn, to
Hmm.
go up to the certain level, then you can perform in the international arena. So although I never went up the kind of stage, like international stage, when I play in when I was playing in the university, I think it's good enough. And like 100 overs of people watching you, see whether how good you are. I can feel that. But actually, we all have fun. We had a good time. We were not like playing professionally. Okay, Rose, this is a great thank you so much for giving
You're
us
welcome.
the
You're
time
welcome.
today
Hmm.
from your busy schedule. I know that, Rose, you're very difficult to contact because you're so busy as well, for sharing all of your expertise, and you gave us a lot of think about as well, especially for those who are into music, practicing music. Of course, for the non-musician, all right, probably you're looking at this from the different point of view. Of course, I think we all sharing here is all about appreciation. So it is absolute pleasure indeed, Rose. I appreciate it. Thank you, Rose.
You're welcome. I'm so intrigued to be able to answer your questions and also learn so much from your questions. And it brings me back to really deep thinking
A
as
pleasure.
I've been running around. And apart from this, I'm preparing a group of musicians and dancers from Chulalongkorn University. We are traveling to London, and I would like to invite the audience in London on June 8th. We are going to give a full performance. And this is the poster that I would like to share with the audience. And also feel free to spread the news to your friends and your cousins who live in London and around London in the UK or maybe in Europe. Join us. The Embodiment and Sound, a portrayal of the traditional music and dance of Thailand, is the collaborations between the Goldsmiths, University of London, and Chulalongkorn University. June
Goldsmith
8th.
University, my
Yes, June
favorite.
8th. June 8th
Okay,
next month.
yes, please do so. And Rose, you're taking the whole group, which performs, which in the Great Hall, Richard Hall Building, which is Goldsmith University of London. So it's going to be a live performance, or you're going to be getting the, which is the European, the Western world, to understand more how, as I said, the traditional music form to be performed in the contemporary way. So here we go. And thank you so much, Rose. It's really indeed a pleasure. And thank you, Rose. Okay, a little food for thought here. Let's look at some of the notes I taking it. Um, music. Music has a critical role to play in the transition towards a culture sustainability. Music is essential to human survival and human development. Contrary to popular opinion, it is not an it is not an add-on. Instead, it is the lifeblood of culture and individual and collective identity, and strengthens our culture, which is I just mentioned earlier on, which is to respond to the questions. Participatory music, in particular, may play a critical role in enabling human survival to climate change. Of course, this is what we talk about ecological resilience here. Its ability to draw upon and elicit deep levels of both verbal and nonverbal imagery, symbols, emotions, and social knowledge structures make it a vitalizing elements for our current journey towards sustainability. Renewing our culture is essential to connecting and living well together to empower sustainability. Contemporary practitioners and others engage with practical sustainability need to actively create music as an integral component of those practices from which a sustainable culture can emerge. With that, Spotlight Dialogue episode is a live podcast organized by Special Interest Group in Circular Creativity from Integrated Sustainability and Urban Creativity Center at Asia Pacific University of Technology and Innovation, APU. To keep up with the show, go to the APU Facebook page. There was our episodes of a truly incredible season we have lined up for you. So please be sure to like and follow our APU Facebook. And wherever you watch and listen to live podcasts to never miss an episode. If listeners are curious to know more about us or find more information, please drop me a line. Email address has indicated on the right top corner of the screen. Thanks for tuning in. Till then, take care and each other. Happy weekend.